Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Dr. Zishan. We have a very special guest today in StudioKHUDI. It's Mr. Ahsan Tahir. And today we're going to talk to him about his entrepreneurial journey and how he entered the startup scene and what he's working on right now. Could you please tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how you actually did your education, where you did your education, and how you actually entered to the entrepreneurial mindset?
Okay, so my name is Ahsan Tahir and I am a software engineer by qualification. My initial education was in government schools. I come from a very, very humble background. So my father is a government employee and my mother was a teacher. So all we had was education. So we were very financially constrained family. The entrepreneurial journey actually started in NUST when I joined NUST. There was one of the teacher, Sir Majid Maqbool, and he was the one who was always pushing me to just do something your own. You're not made for jobs and something like that. And I was in first semester back then, so I had my first semester project was an automated home light control system. And so I made that up, and he was like, "Yeah, you gotta sell it. Just sell it to me. Just sell it to place it at my home." So that is when, on his actually pressure, I registered my first company in Florida, Jacksonville. It was called Questel Incorporated. I think I was 18 years old back then, 17 or 18 years old. So that was my first company, but we didn't do the automated home light control system. We moved towards the CRM, consumer profiling domain, the which domain that I'm still sticking to right now. We used to serve wedding planners in Florida and suburbs actually, and one of the president of the Wedding Planner Association in Florida was our customer, so that's why we got a lot of referral customers within that domain. That business didn't end good, kind of crashed, kind of survived. You cannot name it how it ended. But the thing was, we learned a lot. I learned a lot from that venture. And the day it ended, I started my second venture. So my second venture was doing the same thing for the Pakistani customers. What I started back then was iOS applications were not that common in Pakistan back then, and the restaurants didn't have website. So I went out and made a template iOS application and went out every single restaurant in Islamabad. I will give you an iOS application and website for 10,000 rupees a month. And I think I sold that to 10 or 15 different restaurants. And I was a student and I was getting that kind of an income, like 10 to 15 times giving per month. That was the life I was living actually. But again, the thing was that got very, very hectic actually. I couldn't cope up with my studies. So, and my GPA got really, really crashed down. And then my father was like, I'm just paying for your education, what are you going about it? So I then started focusing back on my studies and left that venture out. And I think in my third year, I got an internship at Alcatel-Lucent. Alcatel-Lucent, they had headquarters back to their Shifa hospital in IIT.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, so Alcatel-Lucent was back then running project of CM Park Zone. And what they did was, they had a team of 100 network engineers, but they would do every single day, come in 9 a.m. in the morning and download all this data from all the BTS towers, cleans it, process it, and then submit it for optimization to network engineers. So they asked me to, can you automate this process? So I was in second year and I had nothing better to do with my life, and it was Ramzan, I remember. They gave me 4 months to actually code that, and I ended up completing the whole thing in 15 days because I just like 24/7 working and all that. And so, but what that did was, it was saving them 3 hours of 100 network engineers every single day because the whole thing got automated. For them, it was a huge revenue jump. So they offered me a permanent job, but their HR was not allowing without a degree to hire somebody. So they offered me a consultancy contract. So I used to work them after my classes, but again, studies, I couldn't match up with my history art. So I took a break from all this venture thing for a year. I completed my studies, and then I did my first job. I never did my jobs. I hate jobs. So I did my first job in Ovis Technologies. But again, I think Allah Ta'ala has been very, very merciful on me that Faisal Khan, who was the CEO of Ovis Technologies, again was more towards, I'm not giving you a job. Take a percentage from me in the company. Actually, Ovis was a big company back then. It had, I think, around 1,500 employees across Pakistan. But they were in business process outsourcing, and they wanted to move towards software side. So they were like, just you run the software side, we'll fund you, we'll give you resources, we'll give you people and all that, and we run that. I did that for 8 to 9 months, but Ovis ran into their financial problems and the whole thing got crumbling down. So again, a lot of lessons were learned from there, because I think that was my third failure. Not my failure, but again, the thing I was part of crashed. So after that, I started another company called Strawberry Studios Private Limited. Strawberry used to work on AR, VR, and smart city projects. We had a major contract from one of the telco vendors in Pakistan. Worked there for a year or so, and then again a lot of issues for there to learn from. Then I started my current venture. I think that was 3 years ago. But my every single venture I crashed in a much better way as compared to the previous venture. It had more revenue, it had more people working, it had a more stable structure. Things got better. So Ticklets, my current venture is called Ticklets, and it's a data science company. I picked that data thing from Multitask. So this Allah Ka Sugar has been one of the most successful thing I've been doing in my past 7 to 8 years life of the screwing up. And we have an employee tail of around 15 to 20 people. We have stable revenue sources across the globe, and we have a SaaS product. What the SaaS product does is consumer profiling over the digital ecosystem. And we have one of the biggest telco vendor as client in Pakistan, and the rest of our clients international. So that's kind of summarizes what I've been doing in the last.
This is very interesting because what I find motivating is that after every single so-called failure, I don't really believe in failures. To be honest, I think that, there's only learning. There really isn't anything called failure. Because I look at my own life and I see that, when I was doing my PhD for the first 2 years, it was quite tough. You make one topic, the professor says no, then another one, and then another one, then another one, and eventually after 7 or 8 attempts, they're like, okay, that's fine. So you were doing the same thing. And it requires a lot of willpower, it requires a lot of motivation, and
yes, absolutely.
And that's what I find impressive, mashallah. So how did you actually keep going? That's my important question.
Okay, so the thing is that I cannot work for people. I don't know, I have this thing in me that I cannot work for someone. Faisal Khan was an exception because we had a different kind of relationship, but I hate somebody telling me what to do and what not to do. Actually, as I'm growing up and maturing, I know that's the right thing. We need to listen to people, and most importantly, I have some personal life goals. I always set goals. Okay, by this time, by 23 years of my age, I need to be there. By 26 years of my age, I need to be there, and all that. And I'm very serious about these goals. I keep revisiting them. Okay, where am I not? Yes, when I started my career, they were monetary goals. Okay, I need to have $100,000 in my bank account at this point in time and all that. But as I'm growing up, from monetary goal, they're turning more into something, accomplishing something big actually. Now, yes, financials are important, but more importantly, the people who work for me, their well-being, their families being looked after, and most importantly, I want to have Pakistan's first ever successful company. Look, any successful story you see out of Pakistan has a lot of international intervention, and either founders was international, either investors were international, something like that. But my company is totally homegrown, and I really want to have a successful story out of Pakistan. So that is the willpower that keeps going. But most importantly, a lot of family things gets involved as well, what you want to accomplish in your personal life. But you always need to have something that keeps you pushing. Otherwise, it's not possible.
Right. So you told me about your upbringing. I share the same background actually. Okay, yeah. I belong to this village called Talagang.
Oh, really next to us. I belong to Bhera, so.
So, it's the same story, because my parents, they always said that the best gift that we can give you is education. And the rest is up to you. You have to do that. So, that's something that we have in common, mashallah. So, let's move on to the other questions.
Okay.
All right. So, what motivates you?
Okay. So, I think when you get into this habit of creating something and then crashing and then building it up and again, you kind of get addicted to it, and it's kind of gets your blood pumping, thinking, okay, I'm about to start something new and I need to put in my 100% in it. So, but the motivational part is, I think, my personal life goals. I'm still not very near where I have imagined I should be by this age, or by 27, 28. I did complete my personal life goals by 23, 24, 25. But after that, it's kind of looking tough as of now, but I think my personal life goals motivate me the most.
All right, so in your opinion, what makes a successful entrepreneur?
Okay, again, as I discussed with you initially, I'm still struggling to find out the successful recipe myself, but I think nobody gets on the top by using their mind or brain. It's more about how much willpower you have, how much temperament you have, and how much hits you can take. It's all about that. I think what I have learned in my business life is you just need to survive the day, one way or another. You just need to survive the day. You keep getting up the next bad day. If you survive the previous day, you're gonna live through, and one day it's gonna happen for you. So the most important thing a person needs to have is the willpower. If the person does not have the willpower, nothing's gonna make difference. So your brain will never get you on the top. I have way more talented people working for me, way more educated people working for me. But I think the only differentiator I have is the temperament and the willpower. That's what differentiates me, and that's what I think. I think so if I am a successful businessman, that would I would still stay after 5 or 10 years or whatever that timeline is.
All right. So if you had to list 3 qualities that should be present in an entrepreneur, what would that be?
I think willpower, commitment, and sheer focus. These 3 ones. And I think willpower and commitment I have always had. I think I've been just kind of lagging behind with the focus part, but I am not trying to develop that. So I think willpower, commitment, and the focus. Sheer focus. Focus should be like off the charts. You need to be a bit paranoid and psychotic to make that happen. So, and I think all of the people in my domain, because we are from the same domain, are kind of, we have few nuts loose there. that gives you that level of commitment. But who would do that to their own life? Come across, be like, come on here, I will give you something to screw up your life. Would you want to do that? No. So willpower, commitment, and sheer focus.
I can tell you this book. It's called Focus. I have it. I'll send it to you. It's very interesting. It's by, what's the author's name? Charles Duhigg or someone. It's a good book on how to get focused. And the thing is with good advice, the thing that you can do is pass it on. So I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely.
All right. So what about your finances? How did you finance your latest startup?
Okay, my latest startup was financed. Was actually I had a partner first. He put in I think a very small amount of seed money in there, and that got us going. And I had few of my savings put in there, and that actually got us off the ground. Then we actually got one of the angel investors, who is now part of the company as a full-time director as well. They put in some of the money, but all of that money was just actually kind of keeping us above the water level, nothing more than that. After that, I think we were just discussing that our client revenues got a bit stable, and to top of that, we got angel investment from Ignite National ICT R&D Fund. And when our revenue sources coupled with Ignite funding actually gave us a real boost that we were looking for. In Pakistan, as we discussed earlier, the splash cash is not that available as of now. So the one thing that we can really rely on is our revenue sources. So we always treat our clients at a higher priority as compared to our investors, because I think that is what is putting food on our table, and that will keep us actually in the growth trajectory as well. So clients, investors, kind of merging the both of them.
I was listening to this lecture by Jack Ma, and he said the same thing. He said you have to have the investors or the shareholders, they come last. The client comes first, employees come after that, and then.
Look, it's very logical. The thing is that if you're keeping your clients happy, they're putting in that kind of money that can keep your employee deal happy. If your clients are happy, your employees are happy, naturally the business is healthy and the investors will be happy themselves. So you don't really need to put in a lot of time towards the investors. I don't like to be the kind of suck-up CEOs that are just kind of making the investors happy. I hate that part. And if you are an investor, you're putting money in my business, you need to be very serious about my business as well. That's the relation I want to have with my investors. But my clients are my life, and employees are the one. Actually, we don't like to use the term employees as well, but the team and the clients are always the first priority.
Because in Starbucks, when Howard Schultz started it, he said that we don't have employees, we have partners.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they never refer to them as employees, and even in legal documents, they always say they're partners.
It's very important. Look, if you're convincing any of the employee person to actually join your company when you're in that kind of a scale, you don't have that kind of perks to offer. In the start, we didn't have the medical insurance to give, we didn't have the permanent fund and all those things. So you need to find somebody who has something wrong with their brain as you have, and you need to find that connection in there. And always the first 4 to 5 employees or the team members are the one who actually gets your things going. So you need to have a very kind of different connection. Their family problems are my family problems. Finding solutions for them, making sure that their lives are smooth is my responsibility. So for the first year of 1.5 years, all I have been doing is making their lives easier. But when their lives were so smooth, they made my life a lot of easier. So it's kind of a two-way relationship with the initial employees. But yeah, a startup or like a small scale company cannot have employees. You cannot offer perks like employees. You need to have partners who kind of share the losses and the wins with you.
So did you actually lose any employees when you started, or they all stuck around?
No. I think we lost a couple of them, and a couple of them were ugly departures. Some were really nice departures. But I think these are just the lessons you learn along the way. But that got me a lot of insight along into when you're building these kind of lean methodology startups, what kind of compensation models you need to have, and what keeps people growing and all that. And the most important lesson I actually learned was when you're a CEO, the most important job for you is to be the chief psychologist of the company. And I really like to spend time with the team and actually work out what's going on in their brains and fix those solutions as per my capacity or ability and all that. So that's very important. Self-actualization for these employees are very important. If they're working here, they want to be part of something bigger. Let me tell you one more thing. Like internationally, you will see there's a concept of vesting. Pakistan's legal structure doesn't even have, Pakistan's corporate law does not have a vesting structure and all that as well. Internationally, it's really easy to talk compensation because we can just agree to this vesting model and we'll start working together. In Pakistan, you don't have that. So in Pakistan, you need to give a lot more and a lot of different mechanisms that are not available there legally. You need to create your own financial vehicles and instruments to make the compensation models. So it's a lot of learning experience.
Yeah, because even when we started Devros, we had 5 people. And initially, and we gave them a lot. I mean, I personally designed the compensation bit. Mm-hmm. So it was like new MacBook Pro, medical insurance for the entire family. Uber credit 25,000 rupees. Nice. So I mean, the package was something like 1 lakh rupees, and these people were like fresh graduates. It wasn't like these people had like 2-3 years of experience. And then the first person who left, he got a job in Camera at 17th grade. And his dad, called someone up and said, "Ji, mere bacche ko naukri chahiye, to de dein," aur wo ho gaya. And that guy left. And I was so surprised because that guy he's leaving a 100,000 rupee job with a stake, by the way. I gave him a stake as well, 5% stake in this. So, in your opinion, do you think that the families of entrepreneurs should invest in their ventures?
Okay, I think we call that fools and friends terminology is the one that we use in investment terms, that we should always take money from the people who support you without any self-interest. I think in Pakistani culture that doesn't hold true. Because in Pakistan, we are a high context society. The families and that structure is still extremely stable as compared to the Western societies. So just imagine taking money from one of your cousins or one of your uncles or something like that, and that thing goes south, and the kind of havoc that will be created on your head from your family pressure and all that. So I think that doesn't hold true for Pakistani culture. Internationally, yes, I think that's the money you should always go for first, but in Pakistan, I think no. I think involving families or anybody that is kind of in your close circle towards your business ventures doesn't end up well. I have been there. I have failed 4 or 5 different companies. I think, and kind of a couple of them had a good exits. Now working on one. So I think family and friends doesn't hold good in Pakistan's context.
The interesting thing is that within the US, if you even fail 5 or 7 times, you always get another investor. Because they're always saying that this person must have learned something important from all this so-called failure. Mm-hmm. And then, their chances of success are going to be much better.
Yeah, actually, I think, because look, as I always normally talk to people in these terms as well, that I still cannot know which way is the one to actually succeed, but I still know that 100 ways not to do that will make you crash your venture, or 100 ways not to fail. So the probability becomes higher as compared to 6th place. I think this company is kind of relatively doing much better as compared to previous ventures, is just because of the fact that, I know how to manage the teams, how to manage the clients, how to manage revenue sources. I still screw up a lot, I know that. And as we are growing up, those small mistakes are turning up into huge financial losses as well. That's part of the learning process.
All right, so when you started your latest venture, did you have any trouble in registering your firm?
No, I think Pakistan's legal process is kind of very easy now. I normally hear that feedback from a lot of people that registering companies are getting tough and all that. I don't believe that. I have registered, I think, 4 to 5 different companies in Pakistan by myself. Always very found that process relatively very easy, very transparent, very clean. Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan has that e-portal as well. It used to only work on Internet Explorer, but now they have Chrome support as well. Kind of really easy process. So I never had any problem with that. My banking account process has been always relatively very easy, and I think by doing that so many times, so kind of I know how to just do that on my fingertips. So I'm very happy with the process in Pakistan. Internationally, yes, it's relatively much easier, but still it's very easy in Pakistan.
So, what is the process? Could you tell it for the audience? Like, if someone wants to register a firm, how do you actually go about it?
Okay, so in Pakistan, normally we have 2 to 3 different kind of companies. They are private limiteds, they are sole proprietorships, they are partnerships, and the third one, I think they've just allowed the LLCs to be registered in Pakistan. So I don't know the exact process of LLCs. For the private limited, it's relatively very easy. You go to the website of Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. There will, on the top right corner, you will see a tab of e-services. You open that up, register yourself as an individual with your CNIC. And for a private limited, you need to have 2 directors. You need to submit 2 CNICs, declare a paid-up capital of the company. Easiest is to start with 100,000. You don't have to pay that amount. A lot of people confuse that paid-up capital. No, you just paid-up capital is the amount of value of the shares that you're starting with. So you just start with 100,000 rupees paid-up capital. I think for registering a company with 100,000 paid-up capital, the fees is around 2,000 to 3,000 rupees, not more than that. Few challan forms are like 4,000 to 5,000. I think initial company you can register within 10,000 or 15,000 rupees. For a private limited company, sole proprietorship is relatively more easy because you're just one single individual. For the partnerships, you just need to have a partnership deed on a stamp paper, and you just get that notarized and registered with the SCCP. Those are the 3 different types of companies we come across on a daily basis.
All right, thank you so much for that. I'm sure that a lot of people will watch that and they'll get motivated, because a lot of people don't even go into this registration process, because I've been talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. They're doing a lot of stuff, but they haven't even registered their firm.
No. You need to have the bank account and the legal company on the first day. On the first day, then you need to make that happen.
So, in your opinion, is it better to focus on one thing or to multitask?
Again, depends. I think I focused in a couple of my ventures. I focused on one single product and I ran out of money. I think that was my problem. I don't know if it's true for everyone or not, but I think the model that worked well for me was that you keep working on one of the focus products, and some of the offshoots can serve as services as well. That can bring you in money from the clients, and the money that comes from the clients is always no strings attached. So we bring that money in and keep pumping up so you need to have the end goal, but you don't need to keep your eyes so close that you're not seeing the bigger picture. Yes, be focused, but keep your options open, keep your vision broad, keep looking for the opportunities that can bring in cash for the company.
All right, so what was the last book that you read, and could you tell us any major learning that you got from it?
Okay, the last book I was reading, I forgot that name, it's been very controversial, by that ISA chief and I've been reading the Spy Chronicles. I've been reading that as of now. Somebody sent that to me on WhatsApp, I think 3 to 4 days ago. It's a PDF, I'll send you that as well. So but I think what I learned from that thing is that the governments and everything is just industrial, military, happy relationship management. The rest is just I don't want to use that, but that was my learning from that one. Other than that, yes, I do read a lot of books, but I mostly stick towards the history. I don't like the fiction that much because, it's good for imagination, I understand, but I like to read history a lot. I read history a lot. I have gone through the 1400 years of Muslim history a lot of times. And other than that, I like to read business stories a lot, how the companies were made and how they were crashed and all that. I read that a lot. Sometimes, few times I work on those books that are for more of self-improvements. I read a book called Good for You, Best for Me. I think that was the title. And it was just about how the negotiation process works and all. But I think those books are kind of outdated because all the major clients I have never met them in physical. They just buy my services online through their credit cards and things keeps going. So the negotiation process kind of changed. So, but that was the latest book I read, The Spy Chronicles.
Because there's this book on making deals from Donald Trump, by the way.
Oh.
It's called The Art of the Deal. And he keeps saying it. Even now when he goes into his rallies, he's always like, you should buy The Art of the Deal. And I was thinking, yes, in this global economy, it's really not that. I mean, for example, when I contacted you, I just went on LinkedIn. I was like, this is what we're doing, and this is
Absolutely.
and this is the future.
Yeah.
This is how it is. But what I find interesting is that the previous generation, and how I define the previous generation is basically which social media platform they're using. Because the youngest generation, they're using Snapchat. I don't understand Snapchat. I tried using it. It didn't make any sense to me. Then you have, after that, Instagram. Now those people who are using Instagram are actually older than those people who are using Snapchat. And then you have Facebook. Now Facebook, it's a growing demographic these days. In fact, for the last 2 years, is people 65 and above. Like, for example, I left Facebook. Even though people are saying that I should make a Facebook page and everything, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I personally like LinkedIn because it's all educated people, usually. And when you communicate with them, it's much more positive compared to just, other things. So, yeah, I completely agree. It's the future of negotiations is actually online.
Kind of change, actually. You just build that into a smart contract and I think will happen.
Exactly, smart contract, yes. That's what I was using before. Yeah.
So
People don't understand.
we work on, actually we use blockchain in our core infrastructures a lot. And the kind of possibilities that are possible in smart contracts kind of depresses me sometimes as well, that okay, what's the world coming to? So the whole concept of human interaction would cease someday, and that's not very far, and I hate that. So although I'm a very antisocial person, I like to interact with least amount of people as possible. I get a lot of anxiety when I'm meeting new people or talking to people on the phone. But still, I think smart contracts is just changing the negotiation process and all that. Because in the smart contracts, you just cannot hardcode certain values. The other person can negotiate on those pricing as well within the smart contract range. So kind of it's very interesting what happens within that.
I hope that comes to Pakistan. In some Pakistani version, I mean.
A lot of people are working in blockchain in Pakistan. I know a couple of companies that are doing amazing work in blockchain. One of them is called Urdu-Bert. I think they're one of them.
They closed down, by the way.
They closed down, I think, but they were funded by Planet N Group.
Yes, by the name.
Yes. I already knew they closed down.
Yeah, they were. Urdu-Bert was a cryptocurrency exchange.
Yeah, they were actually.
I was using their services. I wasn't very happy with it. But anyways, they closed down because the state bank said it's off. No more.
I looked at the whole regulation that was printed out by State Bank. It was very vague. They didn't declare cryptocurrency as an asset class. So if something is not an asset class, you cannot have this regulation. So I think that was very vague. I don't think that there's any actionable thing in there as of now. I don't know why they closed.
Because now if you go to the Urdu-Bert website, they say that, due to the state bank regulation, we had to shut down.
I'm pretty sure there was some other reason in there.
I mean, they could have gotten away with a lot of money, actually. Alright, so I've introduced this terminology which went viral a couple of months ago. It's called job slavery. So let me explain what job slavery is. Job slavery is when you have to force yourself to get up, dress up, and show up to a job. When you're missing important family events because of your work. At the end of the month, when you look at your paycheck, you're like, "Ye kya bakwas hai? What is this? Ye main kya karu?" When you have good ideas and you tell your boss and these people around you, and they say, "Ki yaar, ye hame iski zarurat hi nahi hai." So it's stuff like this. So this defines job slavery for me. So do you agree with this term?
I think I 100% agree with it. I have seen so many people wasting their lives, going into a psychological zone where they're just stuck at that. I was just talking to my brother-in-law, I think, a couple of days back, and he was just going on about how he is just stuck in this job phase and all that. And he has a lot of business opportunities available in front of him. So he's just now taking the last plunge towards the business domain. But I think, yes, a lot of people are stuck in this phase. And as a Pakistani, I think it's our duty right now to create jobs rather than seeking for the jobs. The kind of economy that we're looking at in the international landscape that is changing so fast, the job market is going to become really narrow really fast. We need to have more people coming up who are willing to create jobs for the other people, and that's extremely important as of now. Pakistan needs a hyper active plan to just revamp its economy and all that. And it's not going to happen through giving more jobs and all that. You need to enable people to give more jobs. It's extremely important. So a lot of I have been looking through all the manifestos that are being published for the upcoming elections, and I'm really kind of disappointed by looking at so many leaders passing this statement that we will give this many jobs and give this much jobs. No, you need to work towards how much you can create an enabling environment for the businesses. People need to be more easy on the tax regimes, more easy on the legal processes, more easy on the financing prospects of it. That's what Pakistan needs as of now. We don't need those kind of jobs. We need people and the ecosystem that we can create jobs. It's extremely important as of now. So yes, job slavery, 100% true, and I hate that.
I was talking to this very senior government official. He's a secretary in one of the ministries. And I asked him, "Ke bhaiya, aapke paas, you have basically, if you have one spot, then you have 5 people working on that one spot. Why? You have 50,000 employees in your ministry. This other private organization is doing the same thing and they're doing it with like 7,000 employees. Why?" And he said, the government's job is not to do anything. It's to provide jobs.
Yeah. I think that's very, I met Shahid Khan Abbasi on one of the event 5-6 weeks back. And he was saying the very same thing. He was like, I met Jack Ma and everybody and all that. So if anything is going to happen in Pakistan, it's up to you guys. We can stop things from happening, but we can make things happen. So it's up to the private sector to come up with something. But I think the government has a huge hiring problem as well, and those people are in an age group that you're going to just fire them all as of now. But I think the next batch should not be inducted in such manners. A lot of them have been political hirings, but as of now, we need a business enabling environment. We need more jobs.
In your opinion, how important is self-discipline for an entrepreneur?
I think extremely important. Without it, you won't survive the business. You need to have the routines and the balance in your life. I gave up my balance between the work and personal life, I think 2-3 years back. And I didn't make anything of my venture or my personal life. Everything just went downhill from there. But lately, for the last couple of years, I'm just still, my work takes 95% of my time, but whatever that 5% time is, my phone would be off. I won't have any connection with my email and all that. That time would be with my family or my wife. So I think self-discipline is extremely important. You need to, I'm an early riser. I always wake up very, very early. So that gives, and plus actually our clients are 3 hours ahead of me anyway, so I have to start but that gives you a lot of time for the business day as compared to other people. Plus I normally, on every single given day, I have around 30 to 40 different tasks to go through. And those tasks are not just like flipping papers and signing something. Actually takes us a lot of brain power. So I cannot go through them if I'm just doing them one by one. I need to have a very proper plan about how I'm going to go about my day, which part is my meetings, when is my brain intensive work, when is my lunch and all that. So self-discipline is extremely important.
So you're actually the 5th guest on StudioKHUDI, and out of 4 people have said that they're early risers. So I think that we can, 80% of the people actually get up early. Because there's this very interesting saying that 5 a.m. is the time when either legends are going to bed or waking up.
That's actually very true. That's very true. But I kind of left that part where 5 a.m. you're going to sleep. I like to stay up early, but it's just that it gives you a kind of head start as compared to other people. So when my Pakistani clients are walking into their offices, all of my emails and all of the contract work is there at sharp 8:59 a.m. in their emails already. So first thing they do is when they log into their computers and all that is my email popping up on their emails and all that. But still still really hard to catch up with my clients in Pacific region and Southeast Asia because they are 3 hours ahead of me, so kind of it's really tough following up with their schedules. But the thing is, that region is 3 hours ahead of me and the rest of my clients are 3 hours after us. So my whole day gets like 15 to 16 hours a day. So it's not possible if you don't have self-discipline. It's extremely important. But in my personal life, my family can guarantee, my mother can guarantee I'm a really messy person. if you look at my table, it would be just a mess going on there, and my bed would be just messy. I don't know, I've been trying so hard to make that work.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. It's the same thing with me. Every time my mom and dad they come into my room, I always explain to them, this is not a room, this is a workshop.
I like that terminology. I'll use it right from now on. So a lot of people confuse self-discipline. I think I'm a self-disciplined person because my schedules are really tight and I work with them. But other than that, my rooms are a mess.
Because for me, I actually turned it around. It's been since 2003. I always sleep after Fajr, and then I wake up before like this time, and then I start working, and it keeps on going till midnight.
Okay.
And then I take a little bit of break, then I start working again. And my father recently, he was like, this is toxic behavior. I was like, it's very difficult for me to change because it's been like 15 years since I've been doing it. I did my bachelor's like that, work like that, MS like that, MBA like that, PhD like that, all the work. And then I gave him two very interesting examples. I told him that, well, Hitler, by the way, used to go to bed at 5 in the morning. He was up all night working. And then he would get up at 12 or 11. Like his maid, in her interviews, she says she found it very weird that he would be up all night working and then he would sleep at 5 or 6 and then wake up at 11 or 12. And then the other person is Steve Jobs. He used to work till 7 a.m. Then he used to sleep for a couple hours and then start working again. So I gave him this example and he was like, "You're just stubborn." That's not, those people are. All right, so people have different setbacks in their lives, and what I find interesting is that those people who can actually get up from the setback and then make something of themselves. So in your life, what has been your biggest setback and how did you actually overcome it?
Okay, so I think the biggest setbacks, I don't have some very major accident or incident in my life that kind of changed the course. But a lot of small things have been happening since last 7-8 years that kind of molds your personality and wires your brain to act a certain way in a different perspective. But I think the biggest problem I had was having very trusted partners or very trusted people that you work with or investors backstab you in one way or another. But I think those are very essential lessons that I need to have when I was starting my career in that. One of the investors actually backed out the day the term sheet was being signed and everything was planned, and kind of you start dreaming about, okay, now this is how the life is going to be, and the last day you were like, okay, now we're not going to do that. That was one of the moment. And in one of my ventures, few of the partners went behind my back to the investors and the things got messy and all that. So I think that the biggest trouble I had been always having with the people. But I think that's a very essential lesson that you need to have in the early phase of life. The earlier you learn, earlier you have those setbacks, it's better. Because at that stage, if something like that happens, that will cost a lot. So, but Allah shukar, no major accidents or incidents in my life.
Because I was talking to this friend of mine a couple of days ago. It's a friend from Germany, and he was upset about something. And I told him that, stress comes from other people.
Yeah, I think very true.
You don't generate stress on your own. I mean, it's your interaction with different folks.
Absolutely.
Did you make any business plan for your current venture, and did you actually follow through on that?
I made a gazillion business plans for this current ventures. I think business plan is something that are very outdated as of now. I think they have a very fancy word of it nowadays. They call it agile. It's just that you come up with an initial roadmap. You start working on it, you find, okay, no, this is not going to work. You keep iterating over it, reiterating over it. And I think I'm version 1000 over what my initial roadmap was, and we keep there. Yes, a couple of major pivots that kind of change your business directions. Pivoting your business a lot is not good. It doesn't reflect well on your thought process and doesn't reflect well for the investor trust. But yes, business plans keep reiterating over a certain period of time. And I think, yes, a business plan, if it's a stagnant document, that means you're not moving anywhere. So, yeah, we just learn over time.
So, I mean, if you're going to the investors, you must have some sort of document.
Yeah, we call that pitch deck. So, pitch deck, I haven't been to an investor in quite a while. But what we used to do as a pitch deck, I'd had 5 to 6 different slides, what we were doing, why we were doing, what's the market size, and what's our ask, and what's the team behind. Literally just that. Because a business plan, what am I going to write in a document? Simple. I have written so many business plans. I hate business plans now, business plan competitions as well, but I think participated in one in my, I think 7 years back, and I won that. I had a business document there, and I looked back at that document, I was thinking, that's very stupid. How can you predict all this about your business from the day one? So I think pitch decks are a bit more relevant. 5-6 different slides just gives holistic view of what exactly you are trying to do here. What do you have the team do it? Do you have the knowledge to do it? What's the opportunity size, and what's your ask from the investor? 5 to 6 different slides, and I think that's worked very well for me.
Because people contact me and they say, okay, review my business plan. And when I look at that, it's 50 pages, 60 pages. I'm like, who is going to read this?
No, investor never does it. Exactly. I think all the deals that I have secured were within a time of 90 seconds to 2-3 minutes. That were all my major deals, investments that were secured back then. After that, it's just paperwork and all that. Nobody has the time to read and all that. I did invest in some small companies, one here and there. Never looked at that. And I think people never ever invest in ideas. That's my experience. People invest in people. All the people who invested in my business liked me as a person. Even they could not understand my businesses because AI data science is something that still a lot of people doesn't get their head around. So they invested in me. I don't think so people invest in ideas or businesses. If I like you as a person, I would definitely invest in you.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the startups that I invested in France, that was, I don't know if it's even working now or not, but so it was a father took his son to play soccer, and then his son got bullied, and he wanted to create an app in which kids like his age can actually work. I mean, he was looking at people like if his son is like 6 years old, then he wants all 6-year-olds playing together, something like that. Mm-hmm. So I invested in that because that was a very genuine thing, because it's a father creating something for his son. So I'm sure that that's something that's worth investing in.
These things matter. Emotional linkages, sentiments do matter in business ideas. Look, this whole industry is kind of very romantic about a lot of things. There is no rule to it. A lot of things are just done by gut feeling or art. And majorly, if I have one word that I have to summarize this whole thing, is in gamble. I'm putting my life, my best years of my life, my youth in there and all that. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but we do invest our time, our finances, our effort and everything. At the end of the day, just thinking that it will make something happen at the end of the day. So it's just very romantic about it, the whole thing.
All right, so there's this phenomena called naysayers and haters. Right, these people who try to discourage and demean you, how do you handle them?
I think if you can identify a naysayer right off, I think they're not the naysayers. The naysayers, I think there's a very beautiful quote about it. Look for the people who do not clap for you. It's extremely important to find those people within your good circles. I think, and one of the things that people confuse in Pakistan family context of the families in Pakistan is that you won't get a lot of support from the families within the Pakistan culture, and it's very natural. We don't have to get worked up about it and don't feel bad about it. It's just that our parents and mothers and everybody has been going through a very standard flow of life. That you graduate, you work in a government job, you retire, that's it. Their life was linear. Our life is like a topsy-turvy ride. So a lot of people confuse naysayer with the families. I think that's not naysayer. Whatever they're saying is still in your best interest, but they have their own perspective to it. So other than that, the naysayers and haters are the people that you cannot identify. They're somewhere in your very close circle, and I still believe in the bad eye concept a lot. So lately, what I've been doing last couple of years, I don't share my success or anything with anyone. I just like to stay within my box. I keep working until something starts to speak for itself. And I think that your success always speaks for yourself. You don't have to go tell people out, okay, I've done this much, okay, I've done that much, and all that doesn't make a difference. So the naysayers and haters are really hard to spot.
Yeah, all the startups that I invested in or my partners invested in, I didn't want to list them at all. But then every other day I would get a message from someone saying, well, why don't you list them? Why didn't you list them? Why didn't you list them? And I was like, okay. फिर मैं बैठा, मैंने फाइल खोली, मैंने कहा एक, फिर दूसरा. So, if you had $1 million and you were still required to do a job for the rest of your life, what would that be?
I would like to be CEO of a food business. We were just discussing. If somebody is ready to invest in a restaurant and is ready to screw their $1 million up in a food business, I am up for the job. I'm a huge foodie. I love everything there is about food, and I like to do a bit of cooking myself. But I really make mess of vacation. But I think whatever I mix turns out good. But I think that's my version. My wife and my mother would have a different version to it. But I think I would just definitely go for a food business.
When I was in France, I used to cook for the entire dorm, roughly like 100 people, every Wednesday. And, everyone, I used to make simple things like lobia chawal, chicken, chicken kadai, जो दही के साथ बनती है, साग हो गया, आलू छोले हो गए, these type of things. And they would always say, okay, you should start your own restaurant. That's why I think of myself as a good cook, and that's why I'm thinking about starting one of those things. What would you want people to remember about you? What would be your legacy?
Okay, I think it's too early to talk about legacy right now. But I think two things that are very close to my heart in terms of the art is that people who put food on their tables through me, my previous teammates, my current teammates, and the people who will be working with me or for me in the future, do remember me in good words. That's very important, because I think lately my focus has been a lot towards the well-being of the team and making sure their lives are very smooth. So one thing that's important, I think whenever I am gone or whatever that thing is, my teams remember me in a really good way. Second thing is, then again, I want to have first homegrown success story from Pakistan. There needs to be something that was made in Pakistan, invested in Pakistan, turned out to be something big from serving Pakistani market. That's very important. Those two things.
In your opinion, how important is it that you love what you do?
If you're not loving what you do, you would never be able to put in your 100%. You would never be able to keep your focus and do it with a passion. So I have never done something that I do not love. I won't just do that. My parents call me very stubborn in that perspective, but I'm just like that. I cannot do anything that I don't like or love. So it's extremely important. Otherwise, you're just wasting other person's time and your own time. Even in a job, I think if you're not loving your job, you should leave it. Because you need to be fair to yourself and you need to be fair to your employer as well. It's extremely important. So never do anything that you do not love.
Because I was listening to this lecture by Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and this one person asked them, if there's only one advice you would give the entrepreneurs, what would that be? And he said, love what you do. Because if you don't love what you do and you're not crazy about it, you're going to give up.
Yeah,
first sign of trouble, people are going to say.
Absolutely.
So within your business, if you had to choose between improving quality, increasing your marketing budget, or lowering your price, what would you do?
I think so. Lowering quality kind of is not very true about my side of business. But I think improving marketing budget would be something that now I'm focused on these days as well. Because now the products are ready and the clients are using it, so we need to go out full push, full throttle for the sales part. So yeah, I think improving marketing budget.
Well, you can always talk to me about marketing. I have a PhD in it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I told you that we are very close to that. We are definitely going for that.
All right, so the final question is, we talk a lot about Khudi on this platform and how that's important for the youth of Pakistan. So in your opinion, what is Khudi and how do we communicate that to the youth?
Okay, I think I have two-fold answer to this question. My father said one thing I think when I was very, very young, and that got stuck to me. He always used to say that take priority in being honest to your own self as compared to other people. It's very important that we're honest to ourselves, and I think Khudi kind of goes towards that as well. Khudi, sometimes we do go towards the egoistic part of it, and kind of becomes very selfish. But I think that's very important. If you get something done, you have to be very selfish and you have to be very egoistic about that purpose. Not your self-interest, but that purpose, that it should take priority over something very, everything that's there. And Khudi would all, in this term, would also mean that keeping your head in the right place. There will always be a lot of distraction, a lot of something lucrative options that would take you away from your purposes. But all those lucrative options would have a very short incentive linked to it and all that. Khudi is all about keeping your self-discipline in such a place, and your ego and your self-esteem in a place, and self-righteousness is extremely important, that you achieve your longer-term goal and what exactly you were made for. I think all of us have a purpose, and I hate those people who are just like doing job and just passing their days of life. Wait, what are exactly you come in this world for? Just eating and this sleeping? No, that's not. We are all here for a purpose, and Khudi is about finding that purpose and being very honest about it. I think that what sums up Khudi for me.
All right, Ahsan, thank you so much
Thank you so much
for coming. Jazakallah.
Thank you
Allah
so
Hafiz.
much.